So you want to get started in real estate while working a 9-to-5 job. How do you even go about that? Well, in this video, I'm gonna break it down to some next steps for you if you're looking at this industry, especially if you're going out and getting your real estate license. It's important to know how you can best navigate that, especially if you're starting with a limited number of hours to commit through your work week towards getting your real estate business off the ground. So over the course of the next few minutes, I'm going to break down the 4 key things that you can do to assure that you see progress and growth in the direction you want to go with the hours that you have outside of your full-time job to commit to real estate to get things going. My name is Tyler Roicki. I help people build income and wealth through real estate, and if there's anything I can possibly do to help you now or in the future, go ahead and reach out. You can send me an email and you'll find that information in the description below, along with some other helpful resources for you. And before you do anything else, if you get any value whatsoever out of this video, all I'd ask is that you like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell notification so that you can be the first to know about new videos as I release them in the weeks ahead. So if you're looking to get started in real estate on a part-time basis, you're going to hear a lot of different opinions from different people in the industry today. There's plenty of reasons argued against doing real estate on a part-time basis, included limited availability to serve clients, odd working hours, and even having to compete with those in the business who have their full time to commit to it. While a lot of people say a lot of things, what I would tell you is that the biggest issue with starting part-time in the real estate business isn't any one of those things. No, the biggest issue is a mindset that is typical of those who try real estate on a part-time basis. And so that brings me to the first thing you need to do if you're going to go at real estate part-time starting out, which is you need to commit. The most common reason why most people who get started in the real estate business fail out of the business is because they're not committed. So if you're looking at real estate thinking that you're gonna give this a try, get that thought out of your head right now, because that is not the mentality that you've got to have to really assure that you find success with this. What it's going to take is not try, it's do. It's do or don't. So either you're going to do this or you're not going to do this. And if you're going to do it, commit to the fact, the idea that you will do whatever it takes to continue to progress forward on the journey, no matter how much of that journey to start out with is a flat line, because you're launching a new business. A new business isn't like this. It's not a linear progression. It is a flat line at first, and that flat line might be a month, it might be a year or more, but you can go at it as if you're going to do whatever it takes to progress and grow and to set yourself up to have an opportunity with it. And that is how you have to approach it, is you're going to commit to progressing forward no matter what, even if it feels like you're going nowhere, no matter how hard it is, no matter what obstacles stand in the way. Are you committed to progressing forward and growing in this business, or are you not? Are you committing to the fact that you are going to move forward no matter what stands in your way, and you're going to reach the goal that you're setting out to achieve with it? And that commitment really starts with your time commitment. So if you're working a 9-to-5, you're committing a certain amount of hours out of your week to doing that job, whether it's 40 hours or more, whatever it is. You're committing to spending those hours doing what you do to get paid. There's not really a scenario where you're not committing that time, because what happens if you don't commit that time? Well, you don't get paid, and at some point you probably don't even have a job at that point. So if you're going to commit that time to that 9-to-5 day in and day out like clockwork to build somebody else's future and get paid your paycheck as a result, at the bare minimum, you need to commit to showing up in the exact same way to build your own future if you're going to do that in real estate. And when you commit to starting in real estate part-time, you need to carry a full-time agent's mindset and work ethic from the get-go, even if you have a limited amount of hours to work with. You need to move with a higher sense of urgency when you know your hours are limited. You've got to make every hour you have to apply to your business count for something. So show up to build that future that you envision for yourself through real estate, and do what you have to do to make it happen and get it done. If instead you apply a part-time commitment level to this, you're probably not going to be fully committed to making it happen. If you're going about getting started in this business as if you have another option, that'll absolutely undermine your ability to give real estate everything you've got to make it work. So it's all about making a decision, and only you can make that decision for yourself. Are you going to dabble in real estate and see how it goes? Or are you going to make the decision right here, right now, that you're going to do whatever it takes to make this work for you? So if you're going to start in real estate part-time, do so with a full-time mindset and work ethic. Decide how much time you're going to commit to starting out. Carve it out of your schedule every single week. Commit that time to showing up and giving it everything you've got to progress forward, just like you would if you're working those hours on your job, and do everything you can to move the needle in your business forward with that time you have to work it. And that brings us to the second thing that you'll want to do to really get the ball rolling in this business, which is you've got to set minimum standards. So this relates to the second biggest reason why people fail out of the real estate business, which is they don't know what to do with their time. And so we can dial in an action plan based on the goals that you want to achieve by getting into the business and what you want that to look like as things progress. And while having goals is very important, it's not enough. Because in life, we don't always get our goals, but we do get our standards. And so it's important that you spend some time really thinking about and dialing in what goals you're working towards, but taking those goals and working backwards to figure out what the actionable next steps are to move towards those goals on a day-by-day basis. And if we know that, we can set a standard in terms of what those activities are that you're going to do throughout the week to move closer and closer towards your goals as you progress. So a standard is drawing the line and saying, this is the bare minimum I am willing to accept in my week in terms of what I need to do to move towards my goal. So for instance, if you have a goal of closing a certain amount of transactions, that means we're going to have to do a certain amount of activities on the front end in order to get that end result. And so we can set a standard in terms of how much time do we want to spend on that activity, or how much of that activity do we need to do in order to move closer to that goal. And while we're not going to dive into specific lead generation strategies here in this video, one thing I'd point out and emphasize is that if your end goal is to close transactions, no matter which way you go about it, no matter which strategy, which form of lead generation or prospecting you go about, it all boils down to the same thing on the front end, which is conversations with other people. And so as someone who is active in the business, you've got to be the initiator of those conversations. You can't wait for people to come and talk to you. You can't wait for people to call you. You've got to be doing something proactively in your business every single day. You're going to show up and spend the time to go out and create conversations, and that is the most valuable thing you can possibly do with the time you have to work with. And so when you're setting minimum standards, the most important minimum standards that you can set in your business are going to be things that relate to you creating conversations with other people, because that's the biggest thing that you can possibly do to move the needle forward in your business. You need to be engaging in conversation with other people so that more people can know, like, and trust you and get to know the fact that you're someone making positive things happen in the real estate business who is ready, willing, and able to help them or anyone they know when they come into your circle. And that brings us to the third actionable thing you can do as you're getting into real estate on a part-time basis, which is use a calendar and a daily power list. So once you set minimum standards and really define what it is that you need to do to progress towards your goals in real estate, they've got to go somewhere on the calendar. So let's say that you have 20 hours in your week that you're going to dedicate and spend on your real estate business. If you're not using a calendar, it's probably going to be spent in who knows which way. It might be spent browsing social media. It might be spent in trainings or trying to get your documents all set up or your website, and none of that stuff is going to drive the needle forward in your business. If If you want to progress closer to a point where you have revenue coming into your business, you've got to establish what the key things are that need to go on your calendar, and you need to prioritize that as the way you're going to spend your time so that you can assure that you're doing those activities and meeting those minimum standards we set to continue pushing the needle forward in your business and getting closer to a point where you'll actually see a result with the actions you put in. So use a calendar. It doesn't matter which kind of calendar, the one you use is going to be the best one. So whether that's a Google Calendar, an Apple Calendar, or a paper calendar if that's what works best for you, but regardless, you're going to identify where those hours are in your week that you're committing to your real estate business and what those minimum standards are in terms of how that time's being utilized. So if you have a certain amount of hours that are going to be spent on a specific lead generation activity, that needs to go somewhere on your calendar and you need to stick to that time. And then the next thing is the daily power list, where if you're going into tomorrow, you can identify the key things that you need to do to progress on your goals, the key action steps, the key minimum standards that you can do within the next day to move closer towards each of those goals you set. So you should identify, hey, what are the top 5 things that you can do, the 5 action steps that you can take in the next day to move closer towards your goals. So you're using a calendar, and on top of that, you're designing your whole day based on what those 5 most critical tasks are that will move you towards your goals in business. And you can even do personal goals in the mix with that as well, because it's important to have personal goals as well. And we're not diving deep into that, but that's just the basis of, from an organizational standpoint, some tools that you can use, because as someone who is starting in real estate part-time, if that's what you're doing, you're your own business. You own your own business. You don't have a boss who is telling you how you've got to spend that time throughout the week that you're going to show up for work. So it's critical that you design your own week and decide where things are on the calendar, because if something is not on your calendar, chances are it's not happening. So you've got to have your own system in which you organize your week and assure that those key things that need to get done throughout the week are done as a first priority. That way your whole week doesn't get sucked up by things that call for your attention that aren't something that you intentionally plan to do to move your needle forward, because it's those intentional actions that you execute on that will move your business forward as the time progresses. And that brings us to the 4th thing that you can do, which is to put yourself in the right environment. And this is so important, especially when you're starting out in real estate on a part-time basis, because you need to be in an environment that will facilitate everything that you need to have to operate your real estate business with the limited amount of hours you have to work with. So especially if you're working part-time, you've got to consider, how is the brokerage going to support you? How are they going to facilitate the training you need? And what kind of culture is there behind it? Is it one in which you can actually grow and progress towards, or is it one in which there's friction of the fact that you're starting out in this business part-time? Because you absolutely don't want there to be friction amongst the culture, which, depending on the situation, that may or may not be a thing. But I would look at those 3 things to really figure out if you're in the best possible environment, because there's a lot of companies in our industry that aren't really set up in a way to facilitate the needs of real estate agents who are not operating on a full-time kind of schedule in the business, meaning they might have a certain window in which you can go and actually get the support you need to operate your real estate business, from staff support or broker support or whatever's there with that. There might be a certain window of time that you've got to be somewhere at a specific time and location to get the training that's available throughout the week. And if that overlaps with your full-time job hours, it might limit your ability to actually get training and support. And then also culture, you don't want to be fighting a culture that's discouraging you from being part-time in the business if you know that that's how you want to start out, because at the end of the day, there are environments where it's not discouraged, where if you have the right mindset of how you're going to go about it, and if you're truly committed to it, where you can actually have encouragement and people who will show you, well, hey, this has been done before, this can be done. And in places where you find that culture, it's likely that the support and training are going to be more available around someone's schedule versus, hey, you've got to be here at a fixed time and location to get any of it. So really look at and consider whether or not that environment that you're looking at starting out with is the right one for you to really get everything that you need to make the most of the opportunity ahead starting part-time with it. So look at the support that's offered and ask yourself, will you be able to access that support within the hours that you will be committing to your real estate business? Same thing with the training. What training is offered? How and how often can you access it? And what are the hours for that? Can you access it on your own time? And last but certainly not least, the culture. Will you be surrounded by people who look down upon the fact that you're starting in real estate part-time? Or on the flip side, will you be surrounded with people who will support your position and ultimately lift you up? And within that culture and environment, who are you aligned with? Who's going to be there to help you get to where you want to go, if anyone? These things are all so important and will be a big difference maker in any situation, but especially if you're planning to start in real estate while working a full-time 9-to-5 job and using the hours you have outside of that commitment to build your real estate business and ultimately your life. Set yourself up for success as much as you possibly can from the get-go in this business. If you do those 4 things right, you will be positioning yourself to succeed and accelerate your growth as you're applying your time, effort, energy towards the real estate business and progressing forward with it. So to quickly recap those 4 things that you're going to want to do starting out in the real estate business part-time. 1, you're going to want to commit. Move forward no matter what. Commit to the idea that you're going to make this work no matter what obstacle stands in your way. It's not something you're trying, it's something that you're either doing or you're not doing. So if you're gonna do it, commit to it. 2, set minimum standards. Define what the bare minimum is you're willing to accept in terms of the actions that you're going to take to move your real estate business forward any given week and any given day. 3, use a calendar and a daily power list to plan out your week and every single day, assuring that those minimum standards you set are actually going somewhere on the calendar and that you're executing on those key action steps that you need to take any given day to keep progressing forward in your business. And 4, put yourself in the right environment, the best possible environment you can find to facilitate your growth, especially in terms of providing the support, the training, and the culture you need to excel with the hours that you have to put into the business, and not one that is going to be working in opposition to getting you the help and support and resources that you need to grow and succeed in this business. And if you're planning to start in the real estate industry part-time while working a 9-to-5, last thing I'd tell you is this. If you're in the process of getting your real estate license, or maybe you've already gone through it and you're still looking for that right environment, one that will provide you with the support, the training, and elevate you from a cultural standpoint with those hours that you do have to commit to real estate, I tell you this, reach out to me. You can find my email in the description below. Send me an email, because the company I'm a part of, that I operate my real estate business at, has something very special in the way of a value proposition to really help facilitate that for those who need that training, help, and support, in a culture that elevates and lifts them up on a part-time basis. So let's connect. I'm someone who's actually helped quite a few people at this point launch their careers in real estate on a part-time basis, and the traction that many of them have seen early on in their business is unlike what is typical in our industry. And I would tell you it's in large part because of those dynamics at play and how it happens differently at the company I operate my real estate business at versus a lot of others in our industry that just aren't set up in the same way to help facilitate those key things that agents need, especially for someone who's going to be working on their business in odd hours of the day outside of their 9-to-5 job. So if that's something you'd like to learn more about, go ahead and reach out to me, like I said. And beyond that, if you got any value whatsoever out of the video, all I'd ask is that you like, comment, and subscribe, because that will allow me to continue to share more value and resources for you in the time ahead. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching the video, and until next time, I'll look forward to seeing you on the next video.